Welcome back to gaelicfantv. Dublin 117, Mayo 115. The Alliance National Football League is back. Dublin are back, and Dublin are back with a win. They have beaten Mayo by 2 points in the end, and this is the instant match reaction and everything else that goes with it. Good win for Dublin. Good start. 2 points on the board. Start with a win. You weren't really sure how this game was going to go, in all honesty, because new rules and player changes, and it's obviously been a long time since we saw either of these two teams play. When you actually think about it as well, you have to go back to the summer, go back to June since you would have seen either one of these two teams play. And you weren't sure how this game was going to go. You weren't sure how either team was really going to line out, even with the actual lineups being announced. And as soon as you saw the game and Dublin line out, I mean, Owen O'Donnell at full forward was a sight to behold, to be honest with you. A full back with the Dublin Hurlers. He has actually played full forward with Whitehall Comkill for, on numerous occasions. But look, overall, happy with the win as a Dublin fan. Happy to get 2 points on the board. I predicted in my Alliance National Football League predictions both of these two teams to get relegated. I'm not going to change my tune on that just yet because obviously both of these two were playing each other today. So, both of them had to either get points on the board in a draw or one of them had to win. And look, there definitely were positive signs from a Dublin perspective. I thought the way Dublin started the game, I thought was most impressive. They were very sharp. They were very quick. Kevin Lahiff obviously getting the early goal. Owen O'Donnell obviously playing his part in that as well, sort of setting up the goal. And Owen O'Donnell, I thought actually he was causing a lot of havoc, and he was that man to sort of hold the ball and set other players up. I was saying this to one of my mates, and I was kind of saying Owen O'Donnell's nearly playing a bit of an Aidan O'Shea role, which was a little bit bizarre. Like he wasn't necessarily the man scoring, but he was the man creating things. He was the man sort of holding the ball up and allowing other players to sort of run off his shoulder, and he was that kind of tall, physical presence in that full forward line. In fairness to Mayo, though, like they came back into the game really well, and they scored, I think, 1-6 or 1-5 or 1-6 on without reply. You're obviously counting the 2-pointer in that as well along the way. And we'll get onto the new rules in a moment and how I thought about the new rules, and I'd be curious to know what even fans who maybe watched other games as well, what they thought about the new rules, because I haven't really seen any of the other matches. I saw a bit of Galway Armagh, but not that much really. So I'll be curious to know other people's kind of opinions on that. But Mayo had a really, really good end to the first half. Conor Reid kicked the goal. Fergal Boland, I thought, was very good. Ryan O'Donoghue was always a threat. I thought Fenton Kelly around the midfield was very good for Mayo. And they were causing problems. And, what was a very good half for Dublin, you're kind of scratching your head at half-time thinking, how are we losing this game after being so good? But it was strange, like watching this game, especially with the new rules. I was expecting a lot of new things to be happening. I was expecting the referee to be calling, fouls for dissent and then moving the ball, 40 yards up the pitch. I was expecting teams to not leave 3 up and then the referee to call it back. And there was one instance where the ref did bring it, what looked like 50 meters, and actually ended up bringing it further forward for a Mayo free when Dublin were on the attack. Again, not hearing the commentary or anything of that nature. I'd be curious to know what that was actually for. But obviously it was one of the new rules that were coming into effect. But at the same time, you're kind of looking at it and thinking a lot of new rules weren't really noticeable. Like Dublin didn't kick any 2-pointers in the game. They didn't really try for any 2-pointers as well, which I thought was a little bit surprising. Kieran Kilkenny seemed to be in the best position to do that. And if there was any man to do it, you would have thought it was him. Mayo as well, to be fair, they kicked 1 2-pointer as far as I remember, but they weren't really getting themselves into those positions. And Ryan O'Donoghue, again, was getting into those positions, but was very hesitant to give up the ball from what I seen standing on Hill 16. And both teams, again, were keeping the ball for large periods. They were keeping the ball for long periods. And it was kind of like, obviously leaving 3 men up is fair enough, but it didn't really seem to change a lot, to be honest with you. And you were watching the game and you didn't really... obviously the kickouts was probably the big one. That was the one rule I felt like you could actually notice and actually see. But there was a lot of rules there that didn't really seem to change that much, if I'm being perfectly honest. And And look, Dublin, to be fair, they kicked on in the second half. Kieran Kilkenny, I thought was very good. Sean Bugler, who must be mentioned, had an outstanding performance, 7 points. Interesting enough, Dublin didn't kick a point from a free. All 117 were from play, and there wasn't one 2-pointer in that instance as well. So it actually is quite an impressive tally for Dublin to kick. And when you think about some of the players that were actually missing as well. And obviously Mayo, I'm sure, are missing a couple of players, in there as well. But I was very impressed. I thought Luke Bretnock, who came on, was really, really good as well. I thought he had a very, very good game. And I think he's put his hat, he's put his, his name in the hat to start versus Donegal. Which is interesting now as well, because Donegal and the Kerry game got suspended. So, or not suspended, postponed. So we won't actually know how Donegal will look going into that game, which is interesting. But yeah, overall, I was impressed with Dublin. I thought they look sharp, they look quick. It was one of Dublin's better performances from the opening day of an Alliance National Football League. There were similarities to the Monaghan game last year, where Dublin started really, really well, looked like they were going to run away with it, and then sort of the more the game went on, the more they tired, and the more you could see that lack of sharpness. But for me, Mayo didn't kick on. I feel like they didn't kick on, and they didn't take their opportunities. They didn't take their chances in that instance. They lacked, I suppose, a bit of maybe energy going down the home stretch a little bit. Maybe their substitutes didn't make as much an impact as I thought Dublin subs did. In saying that, all 6 forwards for Mayo scored, so they definitely did have impressive moments. Like Ryan O'Donoghue, who scored 3, Frank Irwin scored 2, Fergal Boland scored 4. David Neary scored 2, Paul Terry, Conor Reid all on the score sheet as well. So Mayo did have some good moments, but I thought Dublin were equally impressive as well. Killian McGuinness, I thought, was very impressive. He was keeping the ball, he was making things happen. Con Basquel as well always looked a threat. And shout out to Gavin Sheridan as well in goal, who, all in all, I suppose probably this time last year was maybe Dublin's 4th, 5th choice goalkeeper. He wasn't even on the panel last year as far as I'm aware. So to have him back in there, or not back in there, I'm thinking of Cluxton there, we'll get onto him. Gavin Sheridan, I thought he was very, very good. He was very, very good, and he had some moments. He nearly scored a 2-pointer himself. It was weird seeing a Dublin goalkeeper playing the whole sweeper keeper kind of style thing, because we don't really see that normally. So yeah, I was a little bit interested in regards to that. Someone's ringing me here. Hello?
Hello. Hi, is Dominic Peter? Can you come down, please?
Oh yeah, I'll be downstairs now. Thank you. Bye. There we go. Pizza's outside, folks. So we better wrap it up there. Patrick says here, Mayo needed to push on more towards the end of the first half while they had momentum. There we go. I literally ordered that pizza right before we went live, lads. So we're 8 minutes in and that pizza's already here. What an actual earth is happening there. But anyway, big win for Dublin. Happy with the result. Happy with the 2 points on the board. The new rules, I'm not entirely sure about, to be honest with you. But yeah, good win for Dublin. Great result. And there we go. Mikey says class. Yeah, Jesus, lads. I mean, Christmas has come early. But anyway, we better end it there. Sound, lads. We'll speak to you all again.